Hello, I'm Elizabeth Burbridge. I am the Learning Community Facilitator for History 100. Good evening. I'm glad everyone so far can hear me. So, I hope you all have started settling into History 100. What happens is, for the learning community, is once a week on Wednesdays, I lead a webinar in which I present a PowerPoint on kind of the big assignments of that week. And then after I present the PowerPoint, you all get to ask questions, either about the assignment or the course in general. And that's usually how it goes. The webinars usually run about 20 to 30 minutes. It kind of depends on the amount of questions and basically how comprehensive I manage to make the PowerPoint and my presentation. And yeah, that is about it. So right before I begin, since this is the first webinar, does anybody have any quick question? Or do you want to keep it to the end and see if I explain it? Okay, no one seems to have a question. Oh, I do see typing. We'll just wait 1 second. Oh, and then we turn the webinars into YouTube videos. Natalie Sweet, the other learning community facilitator, will turn these into YouTube videos, and I will post that video to the learning community hopefully by tomorrow evening. The PowerPoint that I'm using for this is also already up in the learning community. Discussions, there is no discussion this week. So the discussions are due, I cannot remember the themes that the discussions are in, but there are no discussions this week. The discussions also for this class are different from your other classes because they carry over 2 weeks. So in the first week, you need to put up at least one post presenting, it's kind of a personal post where you answer a question about your research or the themes or what you're looking at. And then in the second week, you respond to your classmates along the guidelines. So the discussions are over 2 weeks where one post is due by the Sunday of the first week and 2 response posts are due by the Sunday of the second week. But there are no... So are we saying when are the short answer? Well, okay, I'm going to get into that. So since there are no discussion posts this week, I will get into the PowerPoint and we'll see if they answer your questions. Okay? See typing, so just in case. And I was just explaining for those tuning in that someone asked when the discussion posts are due. Okay, that's great. All right, so that was good. Okay, so the importance of history and historical bias are your short answer questions for this week, and I thought I would focus on them. On Thursday or Friday, I will also be posting a podcast or MP3 that you can download and listen to where I explain the differences between primary, secondary, and tertiary sources, and that might be able to help you with your 4th quiz of this theme for this week. So, I thought since this is the first webinar that we should kind of give an overall picture to start before we get into the assignment. Why are you in History 100? Well, it's a requirement. Yes, I know that. We all know that. We know that's why a lot of people are here, to satisfy a requirement. But why did we create this class? Why do we want you to take this class? Well, the goal is to teach you historical thinking skills. We want you to look and think like a historian. So, what do we think a historian does? What do we think is the role of a historian? Well, we want to expand on that and we want to turn you all into historians. So in History 100, you will be challenged to learn about how bias and the use of different historical lenses can change how others explain history and how we view it. In History 100, you're going to be challenged to approach the question of the dropping of the atomic bomb, formulate research questions, and use primary sources and scholarly secondary sources that we provide in your research kit to create your own interpretation of one aspect of the event. And finally, in History 100, you will be challenged to consider the importance of history in our culture and society. Remember these 3 things that I just said that you are going to be challenged to do, because when we get to week 8 and your final project, that will be a culmination of these 3 goals that we have for you. The final project in this class is not an essay or a research paper. The final project in this class is a presentation, and it's presenting on these 3 goals we have for you. All right. So by now I hope you've settled into History 100, and you've completed the Getting Started module. Especially the survey at the end of the Getting Started module, because that actually gives you a good number of points just for completing the survey. We want you to succeed in this class, which is why we have these webinars, which is why we want you to contact your instructor, which is why we have created these themes for you to work through, because we want you to succeed. This class is about building historical thinking skills, and we think it's so key to you going on to higher level history classes that we really want this class to help give you a solid base. So make sure you have completed the survey in the Getting Started module. Once you have completed the Getting Started module, you are ready to move on to Theme 1, Questioning History. So I think we call it Questioning History because when we're in high school and learning history, we're not really supposed to question it. Our textbook, our teachers, they tell us the story. And our job in high school is to learn that story and to give them back that story. Once we move on to college, we've gone up a level, a higher order thinking level, and now we want you to question that story. Do you agree with the interpretations that you've heard? Can you look at the past and think of another way that we can view an event? Basically, we want you to realize that history is not one story that we've all agreed to, except for like 5 people in the corner who are complaining. No, that it's this living, moving, changing, shifting concept. We even say like, oh, it's built on facts. How we view facts change. What facts we know change. What facts we believe are true change. So think about all of those things, because that is what we want you to do. We want you to move past the idea that history is a story you need to learn to history is a story that you can question and change what you believe is being said. Change the interpretation. All right, your assignments for Theme 1, Week 1. You have 2 quizzes. They are the What is History and the Sources that Historian Use quizzes. So I put in the middle column, it's the suggested due date. But as you know, everything is due technically on Sunday at 11:59 p.m. We have suggested due dates so you can spread it out over the week and you don't get overwhelmed and you don't wait till the weekend and you're suddenly like, oh, I have to complete all of these assignments. So if today you wanted to do, or if by today you wanted to have completed the quiz for What is History, and then tonight when we finish this webinar, if you wanted to go just work on the importance of history and submit that, then on Friday, work on the historical bias short answer. Sunday, the sources that historians use, which will again be very helpful after I put up the podcast on Friday, so you can listen to that on Saturday, work on that quiz on Sunday. All of these will help kind of keep you moving along. But remember, the definitive due date is Sunday, 11:59 p.m. So we today are not going to talk about the What is History or the Sources quiz. We are instead going to talk about the short answers that you are going to be working on. Here is the rubric that all of your instructors will use to grade your short answers. I only showed the critical elements, what you get for proficient, which will give you all the points, what you get for needs improvement, and I did not include the 0 section because I know that none of you will get anything below a needs improvement, and I have a feeling all of you will get proficient. So I want us to focus on what is proficient. I always want us to shoot for the highest goal. Let us earn all the points. So for all of your short responses, the rubrics are the same. You need to focus on the response. Basically, you have to answer the question. Make sure that you are answering the question. Length of response. Make sure that your answer is at least 2 to 3 sentences. For some short responses, you'll realize your answer needs to be a little longer. And that's okay. We don't want to make it too long. We don't want it to be an essay that you kind of get caught up in. We want you to really just sit there and answer the question as if you're at a job interview. If someone asked you at this job interview, how would you answer those questions? And yes, I am thinking that based on the fact that one of you was discussing having job interviews this week. Yes, I would definitely keep the question in your answer because then you have to answer. That was a really great point. Student just said that she finds adding a portion of the question in your answer helps you focus on what to say. That's a really great way of doing these. Flipping them on their heads, right? Taking the question and turning it around into a statement where you then supply the answer. Communicates clearly as a critical element just means that you're talking about it, but also that for this element, I usually keep it with your spelling and grammar and sentence structure are good. The best way I've found to have kind of a coherent post is just to read it out loud. Language was meant to be verbal. I think we're so used to reading in our head, but that's actually a recent innovation, if you will, of mankind. Before that, everything was read out loud. So when you're writing something, if you want to make sure that it's correct, read it out loud. And if it sounds okay, you're good. And if not, you'll catch where maybe a portion needs to be fixed. So this is the short response rubric that you're going to be using for the next two short responses. And really all short responses. And again, so a student just said that he's second guessing what he turned in. The beauty of this, Dale, you can turn in another one. And it will just show up for your instructor that you have more than one submission, and your instructor will grade the later submission. So if you don't like what you turned in after we finish this, you can fix it. You don't even have to delete the initial one you submitted, but you can, if you want to, you can always, your instructor would delete it. So email your instructor and ask them and explain that you're submitting a second one. But that's the beauty of it. You can turn in another one. Yes. All right. So short response, the importance of history. That's your first short response question, right? This has two parts, and this is where I feel that I really want to point out the second part, because students do such a great job with the first part, and then they don't answer the second part. And so you can only earn a needs improvement because you're only answering half the question. You can't earn the full proficient. So the first part that students are great with is consider a recent event, either in your personal life or in the news. In a few sentences, describe a way that history might help inform that event. Students are awesome at this. I've gotten great ones that are about current events. The election was used a lot, obviously. I mean, that's kind of on the forefront of a lot of minds. But people also had personal reflections about finding jobs or moving or stresses or school, coming back to school and what they've learned from the past and how that can help them. So students do a great job with that aspect. The second aspect is describe a strategy for how you could be conscious of presentism in applying the past to the present. Now, your video in this portion of week 1, there's a video that explains what presentism is, but I thought I would also include the definition from Merriam-Webster, that presentism is an attitude towards the past dominated by present-day attitudes and experiences. Basically, presentism is us thinking we're modern and smart and we know everything, and people in the past were backward and not very bright, and we cannot learn anything from them. Presentism is the idea that everything now just has to be better than what was in the past, and that the past has little to offer us to learn about the present. So, when you're thinking about this event, this personal life event, or this current event in the news, that history might help inform you, you then need to include a sentence or two explaining how you will consciously work to make sure that you don't dismiss what happened in the past when you are learning or thinking about this event. An example that keeps popping into my mind is, so I am currently potty training my youngest. I have 3 children, and my youngest is 2, and so we're trying to potty train her. And of course, even though this is my third, my mother still has advice, which is fair. She had 6 children, so she had double me. But I, of course, at times, as the current generation, will try and say that my mother can't be right about potty training my baby in X, Y, or Z way. That her way is wrong because all of the books today have research that say that I should do this or that. And so I have to be careful when potty training my daughter to understand that my mother has the experience of having potty trained 6 children. And even though it was between 30 and 50 years ago, she obviously has something to offer advice, even if it's not in a book. So that's the type of response we're looking for. How can something that's happening right now, and it can be personal, like me potty training my daughter, it can be current events, like the election, and how can we make sure we don't dismiss what happened in the past when we're trying to learn about the present? So that's our first short response. Again, it only needs to be 2 to 3 sentences, but make sure you include that second bit about presentism. Because, again, that's the part that I find students leave out. They'll have a really great 2 to 3 sentences that tells me about a current event and how the past has helped them inform this event, but they don't do that. So as you do your work, make sure you're talking about presentism. And make sure you're explaining how presentism relates. So the way that I explained that I want to make sure that I don't just dismiss what my mother did because she did it 30 to 50 years ago, and now we have different research. Although, to be quite honest, it's actually pretty similar. It's potty training. All right. So the next short response we have you do is the historical bias. And this is what I call, in my head, Zinn v. Schweikart. So I'm not sure if you guys have come across Howard Zinn before. He's kind of, I don't want to say infamous in historical circles, but he does the people's history of the United States. And so his history is very much focused on the non-elite, say women, African Americans, Native Americans, the worker, and it's made waves over basically ever since it was published, that it's been called revisionist history, which kind of goes into the whole question of biases and who are we talking about and are we just asking different questions, which is actually what I think most of history is. When we argue, it's because we're asking different questions because the questions seem important to us and we don't understand why they're not important to another person who's asking a different question. And so right there, I've kind of explained some of Zinn's biases. So we want you to read and look at Zinn and Schweikart's competing views on Columbus and the exploration of the United States. And then we want you to answer these 3 questions. What do you believe to be the major distinctions in their personal assumptions, beliefs, and values? So what's different? What do you think is different about the way they view the world? That's really what we're asking. What are their worldviews? What do they think is most important? And I'm going to throw out some potentially loaded terms, but think about the different worldviews between someone who might describe themselves as conservative and someone who might describe them as liberal. They're going to both view the world differently. A conservative is going to view a world where they believe that we need smaller government and the government that exists protects our rights. A liberal is going to believe we might need a bigger government and the government is there to help take care of us. So those are the competing things. They literally look at the world differently. Well, Zinn and Schweikart are no different. They look at the world differently. So tell us in about 1 sentence or 2 how they look at the world. Next, what do you believe to be the major... Yes, okay, so a student, and you might notice I keep saying a student, but that's because when we put these up as webinars, we want to protect everyone's privacy. So I try not to say names. I totally did in the first 3 seconds. But after that, I feel we're good. So a student has just said, I got the impression of protester versus majority rules. Yes. So I think we can all agree that Zinn is a protester who, he's a protester. He doesn't like authoritarian government. He feels that the government is too quick to crack down on people. Whereas Schweikart, majority rules, he's going to go with the viewpoint that the government is always right. Well, his version of the government is always right. I'm sure he disagrees with various inclinations of the government. So whoever is kind of the winner, when we say that the winner writes the history books, Schweikart is going to side with the winner, Zinn is going to side with the loser. If that makes sense. I hope that's not too of a rough way of saying that one. So, after you explain their major distinctions, you're then going to explain what you believe to the major distinctions in their interpretations of history. Okay, this part I have found, most students do this correctly, but some students will not talk specifically about their interpretation of Columbus and his arrival actions in the New World. They'll just kind of give a more vague answer. So remember that you want to be specific as possible. What are the major distinctions in their interpretation of history when it comes to the question of Columbus and his arrival and actions in the New World? Did they support them? Did they reject them? What are their thoughts on these? How did they tell the story? And finally, do you notice any biases? If so, what are they? Okay, the part of this question that seems to throw people is Zinn is very open in a way about his biases, right? Zinn is like, here, this is what happened to me in my life, and this is why I look at the world this way, and this is why I question history the way I do. Schweikart is just more direct in saying, this is what happened. So I've received, not tons, and I feel like they've decreased over time, but I have received very short responses that will say, Zinn is biased, that he supports X, Y, and Z. Schweikart has no biases. Which is impossible, because he is a human being, and as human beings, we all have biases. That's something we all have to accept, and that's what, in this course, we want people to accept about ourselves. Every single human being has a bias. We all look at the world different ways. I just went over a very general version of conservatives and liberals and how they view the world in different ways. Those are our biases. A bias is not necessarily bad. We have kind of a negative intonation in our heads when we say bias, but a bias is just reality of how we view the world. So Schweikart is as biased as Zinn because we are human beings. So make sure, so I put, did you notice any biases? If so, what are they? And I put in italics, the answer is always yes, you noticed biases in both historians. Yes, the answer is always yes, you did. Yes, there are biases, and then you tell me what those biases are. So we have one student who already gave us kind of her interpretation of the biases. Take it a little farther, put it in a sentence, tell me what those biases are. Everyone has a bias. Every single one of you should be writing on your short answer right now. Schweikart, he's got a bias. Zinn, biased. All right. After you have finished writing, double check the short response rubric. Did you provide a focused and direct reflection to answer the prompt? For the first one, did you answer both about a current or personal event and how the past informed it, as well as if presentism got in the way of you figuring out the situation? For the second one, did you explain Zinn and Schweikart's personal assumptions, how they view Columbus and the discovery of the New World, and what are their biases? All three of those things. So make sure, because that's how you're going to get the proficient 100%. For the length of response, did you provide 2 to 3 sentences? For Zinn and Schweikart, I did not realize what a tongue twister that was until this very second. For Zinn and Schweikart, it might take you more like 4 to 6 sentences. Just make sure it is at least 2 to 3 sentences. Don't make it more than 6 sentences. We want you to be succinct. Think that you're at work and your manager or your boss has asked you to write a memo answering a question. He wants a short memo. He just wants to know what the answer is, updated, everything's good. That's what we want from you. And finally, did you communicate clearly? So this is double checking the short response rubric. And this is available, all of the rubrics are available under course documents. After you submit your work, double check by Sunday night that you have submitted your 2 quizzes for this week. Now this next section is very important. Your instructor will have feedback to you by the next Sunday after the deadline. The feedback is in the comments with your grade. Make sure you read the feedback, as it will help you on future assignments as well as to understand concepts in this class, other history classes, and with critical thinking outside of school. I cannot tell you the number of times I have received emails from students who will say, how come on this question I only got needs improvement instead of proficient? And I will email back, and this is what I do. I will email back, what is the feedback I gave you? Please copy and paste it into this email and we will discuss it. The student then goes back, reads the feedback, and I get an email back that says, oh, I just realized I didn't answer the whole question. So read the feedback. The feedback is very important. And what you might want to do to let your instructor know that you have read the feedback if you email with a question, because you could still have a question. Even with the feedback, perhaps you don't understand my feedback. That's totally legitimate. I might think I'm explaining something and you're like, no, I don't understand what this connection is. Totally fine. Copy and paste that feedback, put it in the email to your instructor and send it. This also helps because, like, if I'm out somewhere and I happen to check my email, if you have sent me the feedback in the email, I can remember more what the issue is and give you an immediate answer. If you don't give me the feedback in the email, I'm going to have to wait till I get home and can go into the gradebook because I can't do it on my phone because the gradebook does not work on my phone. Like, I can't click all the assignments. So I would say get into the habit of, if you have a question, copying and pasting the comments or feedback into the email to your instructor and saying specifically where your question is within that feedback. But also just make sure you look at the feedback. I know I give really long comments. I explain the goals of the assignment and how you have met them, where we can improve, why I'm making you do this, what you might want to think about for your larger projects. I give a lot of feedback within those comments. So if you're not reading the comments of your instructors, you're going to miss a lot of the additional support of these classes. All right, I think that is it. It is time for question and answer. So how are we doing? Let me know what questions you have. It is week 1, theme 1, week 1, questioning history. Okay, I see a student typing. Oh, a couple of students are typing. We're just going to wait till the text appears. See what we are up to. Are any of my students in this class? I'm now going through the name list. If you are, you now know exactly what I want. Do I understand the max points to earn are 130 for week 1? I believe so. I had the original grades on the rubric, and then I moved them. I will double check that, but I believe it's something like 30, 40, 40, and 30, right? Let's see, it might be 140 per week. Let's look. Other questions will come through as I quickly look this up. As long as you cover all the required text is a really wrong answer if that's what you think. As long as you answer the question and it truly relates, then no. Even if you disagree with the teacher. Let's say the teacher is conservative and you post a liberal interpretation of an event. That's not incorrect. It's just a different interpretation. Okay, so I see one student. So does that help? So no, as long as you answer the question, it's not going to be wrong because it's very individual. We are not just, it's not like a math class where we're giving you a formula and you have to reach a specific question. We really want you to think about your own experiences. All right, week 1, 50, 60. Okay, so week 1 is 110, I believe. My rubric has it as 110, but you should probably check your rubrics. Okay, I'm glad that helped. It was pointed out that if you include the survey, it's going to be up to 160. That seems to be that. Okay, so yes, we already had it. It is 130, and now it's 160. All right, does anyone else have any questions? What other questions do we have? How are we feeling as we move into History 100? No problem. I'm glad that helped. Are we feeling all right? I'd like to think you're all feeling all right. Multiple attendees are typing right now. Good. You feel good. Good. You should. Good. Feeling good. Pretty good. I'll take it. I'll take good. Good and excited. Oh, that's nice. Yay. Yes, that's a really good way of putting it. The psychology behind history and not just the facts. Hey, Granny's trying to learn. That's awesome. Especially when it's online. I feel like I don't always understand the online world, but we're here. No, don't be post-traumatic from past experiences. We're going to be okay. Because as pointed out, we are looking at the psychology of history. We're trying to look at why do people view history in different ways? And can we kind of mimic it and create that ourselves? Everyone should feel good. Good. I'm good. People feel great. Let's see. Good. So does anyone have any further questions about week 1? Nervous. Don't feel nervous. We're here. Oh, okay, see, we've got 2 grandmothers in here. Yes. Well, then perhaps you have potty training information for me. No, just kidding. Actually, the baby seems to have taken to it very well. Kind of crazy. 3. Yeah. It's obviously on my mind, as you can guess. There we go. See? We're the mature group. We're going to be the mature group of webinar, bringing it home. See, great auntie, 15 grandbabies. Oh my God. See? All right. All right, guys, we are going to be together. In another type of history, will this affect me in this class? It shouldn't affect you. I think you should be I think that this class is about starting from the ground up, so I don't think it should impact anyone. But if it does, let us know in the learning community or your instructor or the peer tutor. I think that you should be okay, though. All right. We are going to be together, my friends, for the next 8 weeks, every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, to talk about your assignments. Yes, this class focuses on opinions of history. That's a really good way of putting it. You're going to be reading sources about history, but we want you to step back and think about the opinions behind that history. Are we ready? Are we ready to finish up this? I see a little more typing. Multiple attendees. Ready to go off and finish your short response about history, the importance of history. Ready to seize the world. I hope this helped. Again, it should hopefully, if you want to listen to it again, be posted to the learning community by tomorrow night. The PowerPoint is already in the learning community. And I check into the learning community at least twice a day. The peer tutors are there, so just let us know. Oh, I'm glad you're on week 2. That's exciting. Waiting, watching some students are typing, but the text hasn't come through yet. Well, you guys can find each other in the learning community. So that would be something to do. Do you guys know how to use the learning community? That if you put the @ sign in front of someone's name, and if they're a member of the learning community, you should be able to kind of find them, search for them, and then you can create it. If you all look for the History 100, when I post links, you can also talk amongst under them and then find yourself. But join the learning community. You have a quick question on week 2. Yes, give me week 2, and I will see if I already know it. But yeah, try to find each other in the learning community, guys. It's like a mini Facebook. It's kind of how I see it in my head. And we're going to do a quick question on week 2. Wow. Right after the new year, and you guys are raring to go. This is great. I'm glad the slideshow appears fun. Okay, multiple attendees are typing. How many professors are teaching this course? Since I sent an email to all of them last night, you would think I know this. I think it's 40. I think there are around 40 sections of this course right now. Yes. If so, a student asked if she's on the right track of thinking Zinn roots more for the underdog. Yes. That would be the right track. Hey, did I miss a question or did it not come through? Oh, just still waiting. No, not a problem. Okay, after this last question, we're probably going to sign off. Oh, here we go. The question came through. So, on page 7 and 8 in week 2, I noticed that we're doing a worksheet. Yes. We are picking a topic and then answering a question on the topic in the shaded area. I chose military. Yes, that's all correct. We're doing the topic exploration worksheet, which I'll be leading the webinar on next Wednesday because that's your big assignment. And so you're going to pick a topic. So your topic was military, a military view of the dropping of the atomic bomb, which is a great view. And then you're going to answer a question on that topic in the shaded area. So you're going to choose your questions. You are going to come up with questions. For the topic exploration worksheet, you aren't answering your questions so far. You're going to answer what you know about the first question will be, what do you know about the dropping of the atomic bomb in the military, just off the top of your head. Then you're going to give a research question, your sources, research questions, sources, why you think those research questions are important. And finally, at the end, you're going to say, having looked over your sources, what do you feel you now know about the dropping of the atomic bomb? So yes, it's a worksheet. Again, I will do the webinar on that next week where I dig into it. So does anyone else have any other questions? I see attendees typing. So normally we only go 20 to 30 minutes, but you guys are chatting. Which is fine. I love it. I'm here. I'm here to be chatty. Okay, I see multiple questions still going, or multiple attendees are typing. No, I'm glad that helped. Okay, so that was good. Yes, so next week again, though, we will have a full webinar on the topic exploration worksheet, but it sounds you're on the right path. Good work picking military. All right, I see some other multiple attendees typing. I'm a little confused about the project for this week's theme. So the only projects due for this week are the 2 quizzes and the 2 short responses. So the topic exploration worksheet is not due until next week. So that's project 1. So we will have a webinar on project 1 next Wednesday. And that will hopefully give you some better grounding. All right, guys, if you have any questions, you can also email me at eburbridge@snhu.edu. You can contact me in the learning community. You can find me. I'm around. Good night, guys. It was lovely having you. Awesome group. Yes, every single week there goes an email with this link and the topic of the talk. Every week, like clockwork. All right, everyone, good night. I'm going to stop recording the meeting, and I look forward to next Wednesday night. Good night.